Welcome to the video. Hope you're having a fantastic day. So in this video, we're going to be looking at what a payment service provider is, the new policy that's affecting sellers. It came out earlier this year, but I seem to be receiving an increasingly large number of emails from members of the Elite Academy and just general inquiries with this causing problems with people receiving their payments, which is obviously a very big issue if you're an Amazon seller. So if you are, you're going to want to watch this video. I hope you enjoy it. Comment if you've been experiencing these problems or if you've got any questions. Enjoy the video, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Right, guys, so we'll jump straight into the video. I'm going to try and keep this as concise as possible and straight to the point and direct for you. Now, a payment service provider. You may be thinking, what on earth is this and how does it affect me? Well, typically, if you are an international seller, let's say, for example, you have a UK business entity, you sell in the UK, but you have an Amazon US account, right? You have a seller central account in the US and you have an operation going over in the US selling your private label brand. Now, obviously, you're going to be generating income through your seller central in the US, and that money is taken by Amazon, and then it needs to be dispersed to you somehow. Now, although you can have that money transferred from your Amazon US Seller Central to your UK bank, it's obviously going to be in US dollars. Most banks want to receive those funds in pounds sterling, and if you were to do it that way, there would be an exchange rate. Amazon would go by a current exchange rate at the time, and they also take a cut for the convenience factor of them doing it for you. Now, that's not always the best exchange rate, and many people will opt to use a payment service provider instead of going down the route of Amazon paying you direct to your UK bank. Now, they essentially act as an intermediary. So they will take the funds from Amazon and they'll take it in the currency that it's issued, and then you can decide what you want to do with it from that point. So many people will use payment service providers to pay invoices. If, for example, if they've got an invoice in US dollars, they'd then be able to avoid another exchange rate to transfer it over because everything would be with that PSP. Now, obviously, that holds benefits if you are operating in that way. Now, you might think, well, why don't I just have a bank account in the US, and that would be easier because they obviously would accept US dollars. Well, typically, to have a bank account in the US, you need a business entity there, or you may need to be a resident there. Those are some of the criteria for having a bank, which is why it's much easier often to just use a payment service provider. Now, why does this affect you as a UK seller, you may be thinking? Well, many of you will be using a high street bank, possibly HSBC or Lloyds Bank, or a deposit-taking bank. A bank account issued to you by a bank. Now, if that's the case, you're not using a payment service provider. But what we're finding is many people have, when going through the verification process and setting up their Amazon Seller Central account, they may well have signed up to a payment service provider, for example, World's First or Ping Pong, without realizing. So they're using a PSP without realizing, not really needing to use one, but they may have chosen a payment service provider possibly because it was accepted by Amazon or they were rejected by a high street bank. Now, if you're using a payment service provider and you are based in the UK, go and check if yours is a payment service provider first. But this new policy actually came out earlier this year. But again, the reason I'm posting this video now is because we seem to be seeing more issues arising around it now. But they are basically trying to regulate that industry a little bit more. So they want to make it safer for people to have their money transferred from Amazon to the PSP and then wherever it goes from there directly to your bank account. So they have a new policy around this where they have got a set number of payment service providers that they accept and other ones that they will not accept for you to be using in your Seller Central. Now, what we found is people are not being able to receive their disbursements every fortnight because they're not using a PSP within their new policy or scheme. So you need to check whether or not your PSP is. But Again, it's not that complicated. I've actually got the policy in front of me here. I'll read a little bit out to you. As part of our continued effort to make Amazon the safest and most trusted store in the world for customers and sellers, we're launching a payment service provider program to enhance the ability to detect, prevent, and take actions against potential bad actors within the niche and protect customers. So, do you need to take action? You don't if you are using a bank account issued to you by a bank. Nice and easy. You will not have had that performance notification or notification. If you're already using a PSP, you need to check if it is part of their within their new payment service provider policy. And if it's not, you need to swap to a payment service provider that is. Now, I would suggest World's First or Ping Pong being two very good that are within Amazon's policy that you can swap over to, because until then you will not be able to receive payments or will at least cause issues with you receiving payments from your Seller Central, which is obviously a super important thing for you guys. So that's it. If you have any questions about payment service providers, drop me a message, comment below. But ultimately, it's a quick fix. You need to ultimately identify whether or not you're using a PSP, and if you are, and it isn't within the new policy, then you're going to have issues receiving your payments, and you need to make a change in your Seller Central to one that operates within their new policy. So I'll put a list in the description below of some of the payment service providers, because there's more than the two that I just mentioned. Amazon actually do their own as well. And yeah, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope this helps you in some way, and I'll see you guys in the next one.